Om Sri Maha Periyava Saranam. This incident happened many years ago when Sri Maha Periyava was in Sri Madam. It was evening and an old man arrived in a rickshaw at the entrance of the mutt. The driver helped the old man to get down from the rickshaw and the old man requested through gestures to accompany him inside the mutt. Since the rickshaw driver's hair was uncombed and his clothes were dirty, he felt it was not proper for him to enter the mutt. The rickshaw-man called an attendant of the mutt and requested him to hold the old man's hand and help him get darshan of Periyava. He also requested the attendant to leave the old man at the entrance after the darshan. The old man seemed to be more than 80 years. He had sunken eyes, wore a wrinkled shirt and a dhoti which was not tied properly. He had a box of sneezing powder in a pouch kept in his shirt pocket. He struggled to walk, but holding the attendant's hand, he slowly went inside and seated himself on a raised platform opposite to where Periyava was seated. Placing his right hand on his forehead, the old man struggled to see Periyava. When he could see Periyava faintly, the old man slapped himself as a mark of respect and forgiveness. Periyava saw the old man and smiled, since he knew the reason why the old man had arrived. At that moment, a disciple came running and conveyed obediently to Periyava that some important people were waiting at the entrance to meet him. Periyava didn't wish to see anybody and they were all asked to come the next day. Periyava sent away all the other devotees after giving them prasad. Only the old man from Kanchipuram and Periyava were present. The old man was struggling to see Periyava, and as a mark of concern and respect for the old man's age, Periyava got up and walked towards him. The disciples were shocked since Periyava had never got up and given such a darshan to his devotees. Periyava placed a garland of bilva leaves on his head and asked the old man if he could see clearly. The old man strained his eyes but answered that he couldn't. Periyava came closer and held a rose garland on his head. Then he asked the old man whether he could see. The old man struggled and answered that he couldn't. The rose garland, which looked beautiful on Periyava, was given to the devotee. Then Periyava held an ochre cloth on his head and asked the old man whether he could see. The old man gestured that he couldn't. The disciples present there were confused by these conversations between the old man and Periyava. At that time, some devotees tried to enter the mutt and Periyava signaled them to go outside. A deep silence prevailed there. The old man was disappointed because his desire was not fulfilled. Since Periyava knew the old man's desire, he held a dandam and placed a garland of big rudraksha beads on his head. Then Periyava asked the old man whether he could see. The old man's face suddenly brightened up and tears started flowing from his eyes. He wanted to speak a lot, but he was dumbfounded. He replied that he could see everything clearly. The old man slapped himself on his cheeks and lifting both his hands with great effort, he bowed to Periyava. He also prostrated in front of Periyava. He got up slowly and saw Periyava's face with gratitude. Tears were overflowing from his eyes. Periyava called his disciples and asked them to leave the old man at the entrance. With happiness overflowing in his face and heart, the old man left the mutt. The rickshaw driver helped the old man to sit in the rickshaw. The two disciples who had assisted the old man spoke amongst themselves whether they had understood the conversations between the old man and Periyava. One disciple replied that he had been serving in the mutt for many years but had never witnessed such an incident. What the old man wanted to see and what Periyava wanted to show, he couldn't understand anything. The disciple told that he became emotional when he saw the old man in tears. The disciple yawned and then went away to sleep. Next morning, the mutt received the news that the old man had attained Sadgathi. The disciples and attendants were shocked and answers to their doubts were cleared by experienced staff of the mutt. The old man had sensed that his end was near. Thus he had come to Sri Madam with a desire to have darshan of Kailasanatha and believed with full faith that Periyava would fulfill his desire. Devotees who had experienced the truth that Periyava was the manifestation of Lord Shiva explained that as soon as Periyava had placed the garland of rudraksha beads on himself, the old man was blessed with a vision of Lord Shiva in Periyava. The old man had desired for a vision of Lord Shiva and Periyava had fulfilled his desire. Thus Periyava had granted him moksha. Hara Hara Shankara Jaya Jaya Shankara.